24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year, 196 countries and 4,416 cities in the world, with around 7.4 billion people inhabiting the Earth, each trying to achieve what they perceive happiness to be. But the real question is there even such a thing as being truly happy?
I love dealing with art.
Being with my mom, who inspires me and who makes me feel so loved.
What's always made me happy is trying new sports.
What makes me happy? Pasta.
What makes me happy is family.
What makes me happy are my sugar gliders.
My dog Pancake.
Happiness can be an emotion and it can be a mood. So it can be a state of mind, but it can also be something a lot shorter. So in general, there's two broad categories of happiness that we have found as positive psychology researchers, which is one is a very short-lived kind of hedonistic form of happiness. It's feeling good. And the other one is one that is attached to meaning, something that is larger than yourself, where you feel life is valuable, you attach a greater meaning to it. Positive psychologists have looked into the subject area of optimism and pessimism, and there's two different forms of it. One is the kind of optimism that we usually mean when we say optimism, which is everything's going to be fine, as in like a generally positive outlook on life. And the other form of optimism is an explanatory style, which means how do we explain things that have happened to us, both negative and positive. Every individual, every person needs to negotiate their own sense of happiness. So sustainable happiness is the holy grail, really, because a hedonistic happiness can be achieved very quickly. Sustainable happiness is a lot harder to achieve.
Being around my friends and family makes me happy.
I'm happy holding my grandson.
Jiddu and I wind down at the end of the day and read our bedtime story.
Philosophers a long time back talked about how politics or the role of the state should be to ensure the greatest good of the greatest number of people, and you could argue that by good they meant the happiness of greatest number of people. So while there be many, like the authors of this book, who say that if politicians make society more equal, we'd have happier, more content society, less violent societies. There are others who argue that if the state redistributes wealth, tries to make society more equal, we are taking away happiness from the rich. Many politicians would say that that's their goal, to keep society happy, but how they define happiness is very different. So while there would be left-wing politicians who'd argue that happiness is comes about as a result of equality, justice, there'd be right-wing politicians who argue that happiness comes about when individuals are left free to pursue what they want and the state doesn't intervene. So it's a very contentious term. Everyone wants to claim that term, but what it means is open to debate. Not sure it's an ideal thing to be truly happy all the time either. It would be a very boring way to live your life. And if you think of it, it's through periods of questioning yourself and having that feeling that there's something missing that people achieve goals in their life, people change the direction of their life. So I think complete happiness would be a very sad position to be in.
Walking through a new city when I'm traveling, waking up in the early morning and walking around with a coffee and a croissant, that makes me extremely happy.
Making small decisions every day that you know aren't just going to benefit you, but are going to benefit the rest of the world and the other creatures in that world and their environment.
Happiness is a goal. It is something we all look for and hope to achieve. And when that day comes, we'll savor it.
Sometimes the first part of the job is actually to explain the science behind why happiness leads to more success and why it's important to be happy, and as I did in the talks tonight, telling people that happy people do actually spot more opportunities. What I help people to do, to actually work on your happiness first. All those things are potentially achievable, success, love, all of that stuff, but you've got to work on your happiness first, and then everything gets a little bit easier. My mission in life, if you will, is to make sure that people can actually experience that happiness and that contentment and joy and to flourish and thrive without having to go through the hardship first. There is overwhelming research evidence that people who work on their happiness and who are happy they are more successful. If I had to say to somebody, okay, you can only do one thing to be happy, if that was, the only thing they were going to do, then I would say gratitude is it. Whereas actually a big component of happiness is about having a sense of purpose that's greater than you. I think happiness is about being the best that you can be and enjoying life as much as you can, not just selfishly, but actually for the greater good as well.
Happiness is about accepting who you are and everything around you. It is a state of mind that you have to find, but always know that there is not one thing that determines happiness. It is a combination of different aspects of your life that make you who you are. So what is happiness? I don't know. You tell me.
What makes me happy?
What makes me happy?
What makes me happy?